All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we worked through a motion to suppress and reveal confidential informant. Apparently, the Wing Depot in South Fulton is a hotbed of drug transactions. But we are here on a water bill, and we should have your Daryl Smith.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith, thank you again for your patience. Tell me who we've got online, and tell Mr. Daryl Smith who we've got online representing the city of Atlanta.
Good afternoon, Judge McBurney. George Prothero on behalf of the city of Atlanta.
Hey, Mr. Prothero, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Judge. Good to see you.
Same.
And I'm also joined by co-counsel Sandy Malort. She's also online. We're also joined finally by Spencer Peck, who may be available at the court's leisure for certain technical information if required.
Got it. I see all three of you on the call. That's great. Let me write down one more thing. All right. So, Mr. Smith, as I understand things, you had a big water bill or series of water bills that you challenged, took it all the way to the Water and Sewer Appeals Board, WSAB. They upheld the bill and denied your appeal, and you then brought this civil action where you're challenging the finding of the WSAB that you're liable for your bills. And you want to talk today about what you think the WSAB did wrong in terms of looking at the evidence that you supplied and interpreting the bills, et cetera. I'm not putting words in your mouth. You're going to be able to make your own argument. I just want to do a basic framing so you can say, no, this is about my garbage, not my water bill. I think it's about water bill. And there was a spike for a few months that were totally out of the ordinary, which is sometimes kind of prima facie evidence that something's broken right now, whether it's a leak on your side or a problem with the meter, et cetera. And so we're here. I am here to listen to anything and everything you have to say, but I need to let you know how my review is limited by the appellate statutes that govern me. Like I said, I will listen to everything you have to say. I promise to give you that. But I am not able to take new evidence. Whatever the record was below is the record from below that I can look at. So you can point out, look at my exhibit 1 from that hearing. They clearly ignored it. Or there was conflicting testimony and you should look at it this way, but I don't get to reassess credibility findings. For example, if the WSAB, let's say you claimed that it was raining on the day and a technician from Water and Sewer came out and said it wasn't raining. And the board said, we credit our own employee. Unless I find that it was clearly erroneous, I can't remix the paint, if you will. The WSAB, the board, said, here's what we did and why. I look at that same record that you made with them to say you made a legal mistake, or based on that same information, it was an abuse of your discretion to come out the way you did. You ignored some stuff or who knows what. And I share that with you just because I don't want you to think if I come down with what we call an affirmance that I wasn't listening to you. But if you're bringing to me new things that you didn't share with the board, like I said, I will listen to them, but I cannot base my decision on something that's outside the four corners of the record that you and counsel for the city or whomever, I don't know who represented the city in front of the board. It's often a lawyer, but someone, whatever record you all made is what I work with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. With that, take it away.
Okay, so on January 18th is when I received the bill reflecting that there was an increase in the water.
January 18th of 2024?
24.
Okay.
A case was opened, CS 1866827.
This bill in January of 24, was it a $10 increase, $1,000 increase?
It was about a $3,800, or sorry, $2,800 increase.
My gosh, is this this is your,
This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
okay, your house or one that you own and,
One that I own in Southwest Atlanta. It's right around the corner from my father's house.
okay,
And I have a young lady that's renting it. She's been renting it for 20 years. She's 77 years old, so.
and her job is not filling other people's pools with your water? Okay, and so it jumped from what should have been double, 2 or 3 digits to
Her normal bill is $60 a month, give or take.
yeah,
And it went to $3,000.
okay.
And if you look at the amount of water that would have been used, I think it came up to like 30,000 gallons.
Like I said, she's filling pools.
So,
Judge, if I might, I'm sorry, I need to object and interject while I object. First of all, I just want to confirm with the court that the record is before the court. Is that correct? The court does have the record filed by the city?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I just want to clarify Mr. Smith's testimony. Is he testifying that his bill increased by $3,800 from one month to the next?
Well, those were the words that came out of his mouth, but the record is the record. That's what I started with, so we all understand. I mean, you knew this already, Mr. Prothero, but I am willing to hear Mr. Smith out, and he may have some things he wants to share about what he thinks was the unjust nature of how this was handled. And I've tried to explain to him, and I will at the close of the proceedings as well, that he may be fully justified in feeling that way, but I'm limited to the record. And if, let's just use this example, if the January bill showed an increase of 2,000 instead of 3,000, it's what it shows, and we're not changing that. I just, and if we need to pull those exhibits out, we can do that. I was really just looking for an overview right now from Mr. Smith, and then I was going to ask him to highlight what he thinks the errors were that occurred below, because that's really what I'm limited to, is addressing allegations of error from the proceedings below.
Understood, Judge, and I appreciate that explanation. The reason I was interjecting is that I hear you clearly, but I'm having difficulty hearing Mr. Smith. And so I was trying to make sure that I understood what he said. If he would, thank you for moving the microphone. That way we can, yeah, great, thank you.
Yep, we fixed that. Thank you for flagging that. There was a monitor blocking it, but it is now much closer to him. So, Mr. Smith, we don't need to get hung up on the specific numbers. You were helping me understand orders of magnitude. It wasn't a change from $40 to $80, but it was 100, 1,000-fold kind of thing. All right. So the bill, first one that seems to represent a change is January 24.
correct. Once I called in, I didn't hear anything back or get an email or anything from the city. So I called again on March 27th of 2024. I was informed that a work order had been placed and that the water meter was determined to be busted. And that is in the notes from the customer service rep.
And that's something that from the record below.
I believe they had access to it because this came to me in an email. So I'm assuming that everything I had access to, they had access to.
So I need to better understand your answer. And I didn't use real clear terminology. You mentioned that there were customer service notes. How did you get customer service notes?
There is a file online that you can go and download, and I recall them requesting I guess a gathering of evidence. I can't think of the terminology for it.
Okay.
And I got this from the city of Atlanta.
All right.
So,
and when you had your hearing in front of the board,
I didn't have a hearing, and that's the other issue that I ran into.
Okay.
Because I never wanted it to come to court, but that seemed as though that was the only option that I had.
Mm-hmm.
But
so that I'm understanding, I have not challenged my water bills before. I probably should have, but I haven't. You submitted some things to the board, but you didn't appear in front of them?
no, I did not appear in front of them. And yes, I submitted some things to the board.
Did someone appear on your behalf, or it was all based on written submissions?
It's all based on written submissions.
Okay.
And part of it was due to my circumstances. We were coming back from COVID. We were asked to come back in the office. me taking time off for this that I thought was going to be kind of open and shut because
Sure.
it was obvious that it was abnormal water usage. So what happened is I sent an email. When I got the denial back, I was informed at that time that I didn't send the other documents, which I sent the email and and it was the time difference was so big in between. I couldn't go back into my sent items folder to find the email that I had sent. But what I was like, okay, well, can I just resubmit it? And they were like, no, this is our final judgment. And I said, well, I have where I had 2 plumbers come out, look at the property. Both of the plumbers said there's no leaks on the property. And even to the extent that one plumber, and this part I could not send to them because it was a video of the actual water usage showing that the meter was not running. They turned the water on and the meter should have been running and there was nothing running.
Did you, you mentioned you were back at work full-time, post-COVID, et cetera, and so you sent things into the board. Were you given the opportunity to have a hearing and said, no, thanks, I'd like to do it based on submissions?
They give you 2 options, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
He will.
You can either send it in or appear in front of the board.
Okay, and you opted to send it in.
Again, I thought this was a simple case of this is a broken meter. The customer service rep made a statement that the meter was busted. There was a work order that was placed on it.
And that work order and this customer service saying something like that, the rep saying something like that, how did the board know about that? Was that part of your submission?
Again, I got this from the city of Atlanta. So I did not submit this because I didn't have access access to this at the time. I didn't get access to this until after I filed suit. And
After you filed this lawsuit?
This lawsuit.
Okay.
Correct. So my thought was they sent this to me, that this was sent from the board. I don't know who else it would have been sent from.
Okay. So it may have been in front of the board, but you didn't give it to the board?
I did not give that to them. It was supplied to me.
Would the board, I don't know what the submissions look like. Did you also get to write a few paragraphs to say, dear board, here's what you should do?
I wrote on my submission along with what I appeared to have put that, hey, this is what happened. These are things that I noticed. I sent a plumber out there and he said that there was nothing wrong with the meter. I'm looking for that. Just looking for the email that I sent. The letter that I sent to the appeals court. I'm not the appeals court, I'm sorry, to the board. But it had the information on it that I had pushed out to, that I had taken care of.
Okay.
So I had a plumber go out. When they sent the submission back, initially I thought, okay, maybe I did something wrong. But the first plumber said, I think the water meter's not working properly. I turned on the water meter, the water valve, and looked at the meter. It doesn't show numbers. And once I got that information, I was informed that the meter inspection had been complete. I called the customer service representative back.
A meter inspection meaning?
By the city.
Got it.
I called the customer service representative back, and they have it here. It says, I informed the customer that there was a work order placed on the account and advised him of the SLA for it, as well as I informed the customer. I will email over the adjustment form and provide the steps and SLA for it. And that was when they sent me the information to send to the board. My thought was, okay, I attach these 2, send it to them. They received it. And some months later, I was notified on June 27th, I was notified that my request for billing adjustment had been denied despite the prior findings.
And that's June 27th of last year?
Of 2024, correct.
Okay.
And then I hired a second plumber. Again, I'm thinking maybe there is something going on that I don't know. And which was Atlanta's Best Plumbing, who also confirmed that the meter was not functioning and he provided notes and a video recording demonstrating the meter's failure to register water usage. And after that, again, the water meter, I couldn't submit it because the file was too large. He sent me a video file, and plus it was already after they had denied me. So the only other option I had was to bring it to court.
Okay.
And then it also shows, like on the water meter readings, where the readings went up, and then just went back to normal. So what I'm asking is that, I kept paying the bill. I actually paid more than the bill just to show that I'm not trying to get over. I'm just trying to pay. I can't pay $3,000 on a water bill. And so I'm just asking that my water bill be adjusted back to normal record usage, consider the documents that I have, and acknowledge my good faith in trying to resolve the issue. That's all I have.
Okay. When did the spike end? How many months of high bills was it?
It was January, February, March, April, May, June, July. It was from January 2024 to September 2024.
Is it back to $60, $70 a month now?
Yes, it is.
Good.
I have the current bill. And again, this is a small 900 square foot house. And right now, the current charge on the bill is $69.06.
Okay. And that's within, a few bucks, pretty standard for how it's been.
Yes.
Other than the spike.
Now, I will say this, and this has nothing to do with this case. December, whenever the last cold snap was, earlier this year, the water main finally broke. There was water squirting out of it. I had it, again, you said that can't be acknowledged, but I had a plumber go out there, because then I'm like, okay, maybe it was my fault. But he said, no, this is on the city side. If you look, the house is here, the meter's here, and it was just, the water was flooded into the thing. And I thought it was, okay, it's coming from the house. And he said, no, it's coming from the side,
City side.
on the city side. And I was like, well, maybe the water was slowly leaking on the city side. I don't know. But I said that I didn't submit anything for that, because that threw the bill up to $5,000. But I figured that was a separate issue, and I needed to resolve this one first. But they billed me for an additional $2,000. So now the water bill is like, taking away the money that I paid to try to keep it under control, is $5,339.80.
Okay. Got it. So tell me, before I turn to Mr. Prothero to see what he wants to share from the city side, what specifically do you want me to focus on? When I'm looking at the record from below, which is what I need to do, what were the mistakes the board made? If you want to highlight for me now, look, we're all working from the same set of information. Here's where the board got it wrong. I mean, other than the final answer, obviously you think they got it wrong, and they should have said, you're not liable for these amounts during this spike period.
When I requested to resubmit the information, give me an opportunity to resubmit. It's obviously, this is a large bill, and I don't know, not trying to be smart, but I'm not walking around with $3,000 just to pay a water bill that I had no part of.
So I want to make sure I understand this particular concern you're raising. You got the final answer, you're hoping it wasn't final, from the board saying denied. And you said, wait, I've got some more. I want you to see this plumbing video or this other information.
No, they said that I didn't send the information. Well, if I didn't send it, but yet I sent the first thing, well, maybe I made a mistake. Give me an opportunity to correct the mistake.
Okay.
And I don't see why this should be the only opportunity I have, because even getting an attorney by the time I finish paying for an attorney, I might as well have paid
Pay your water
bill.
bill. You're in that tough, this dollar amount is such that you're in that dilemma of, I could just pay the water bill off before I paid the attorney. If the water bill was $100 million, you hire an
Right.
attorney. I'm confused still then about the chronology. You submitted some things to the board, they ruled, and you said, wait, did you get this other stuff? Or when did you learn that they didn't get what you thought you sent them?
The timeline permits, I think, well, when I read the email, it said that I didn't provide any evidence. I think that's what it said. And
The email that said you lose?
yes.
Okay.
And I said, wait a minute, yeah, why didn't y'all look at this? And I was gonna resubmit it, and they were like, if you want to resubmit, then I would have to get an attorney and do what I'm doing right now.
Oh, meaning appeal.
Yeah, I have to appeal. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I appeal, that just means I gotta go in front of the board and explain but no, it was, you have to get an attorney and do all of this.
Okay. So you got the email denying the adjustment. You responded back saying, wait, it sounds like the email said you didn't provide enough or any information. You said, well, I thought I did. Let me send you some more.
Correct.
And you got a response to that as well. And that was nope, we have ruled if you want to do something more, you have to appeal.
I think that was all in the email.
All in one.
I think so, yes.
I thought you made it sound though like you had some interaction with someone from the city where you.
That was the customer service representative.
Okay.
That was when I was going back and forth with them when I could get them on the phone. But the
Okay.
email said, if you want to appeal, you need to check with your attorney and submit. And again, a lot of this is going on memory from what I had in the email. So,
Okay.
But it's not like I did not have the documents. It obviously just didn't. Maybe I made a mistake.
Okay.
I'm not denying that, but I'm saying if I have the documents.
I'm not placing blame anywhere. I'm just trying to understand what happened.
Understand.
So you don't necessarily think that the board was incorrect if they said you didn't send us these things. You may not have, is
If
what
they
you're
had
saying.
said you didn't send these things, send them and we can make a judgment, I would have sent
You
them.
would have done it.
Yes.
Right. Okay. But if the way the process works is you get one shot at sending them everything, maybe you didn't understand it that way, but nonetheless, you get one shot. And what you sent them was some of the things, but not these others. You're not saying that they ignored things. They just may never have received certain things.
And that's correct.
Okay.
If I'd been notified, I would have given them the information.
All right.
I mean, to your point, I don't do this every month. So I'm trying to get my water bill taken care of. Well, after seeing 3,000, it's like.
All right. So one is they should have let you submit additional materials.
Correct.
Other errors you think they made?
I don't think, I think if they had seen the additional materials, they would have said that, yeah, okay. But I didn't have that opportunity.
Okay. Got it. All right. I think I understand all that. I'm going to hear from Mr. Prothero, and then I'll come back to you as the appellant in case there's anything you want to say in closing. Okay? Thank you. Mr. Prothero.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. I'd like to start by looking into the record itself. And if I may share my screen with you.
You may.
All right. So, let's see. Able to see respondent's notice of filing amended record?
I do see that.
Okay. I'd like to start, Judge. Mr. Smith alluded to the fact or stated earlier that he did not appear personally before the board. His appeal was an appeal that was conducted administratively before the Water and Sewer Appeal Board. And so for that reason, his information would have been submitted earlier and he was not there to present information in person. I'd like to go into the transcript, Judge. This is the transcript from the appeal board hearing for October the 1st, 2024.
Well, before you do, and that's fine if you can do that in just a second, the way I understood it from Mr. Smith is that he elected to go the route of it being, I think your term was an administrative appeal. In other words, that he was not present for the hearing. Is that correct? Or the board decides and they looked at this one and said, this is an administrative one, we don't need to hear directly from Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith elected it, Your Honor. If you can see my screen still.
I do. I see that. Okay.
Here is his appeal request form.
Yep.
And you'll see here just above the handwritten notes, I would like my appeal to be, and it is selected, reviewed administratively.
Yep.
And that was signed, well, by or dated and signed by Mr. Smith. So it was an administrative appeal, Your Honor, and that was one reason why he was not present.
Excuse me.
Hold on one second, Mr. Prothro. Yes?
If you, and that's the thing, if you look at the bottom of the sheet, it says, please see attached.
Okay. I've got all that. I will look at all that, but Mr. Prothro is helping anchor now why it was administrative, because the transcript of the hearing was 4 minutes and 55 seconds. That's more administrative, where they're making sure they've got all the paperwork, et cetera. I've had one of these cases where the bill payer showed up and that was not a 4 minute and 55 second hearing.
Right. Okay.
So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Prothro.
No problem, Judge. And so to your point, Your Honor, it was a short hearing. At the beginning of the hearing, the board took care of some other administrative issues. But here on page, this is page 3 of the transcript. The portion that I've highlighted is where the chairman is stating to the other board members that meeting packets, and evidence from the appellants have been distributed to the board beforehand, so they've already had an opportunity to review that. And then here on page 5 of the transcript, they call case number 10, which is Daryl Smith. That's for account number ending 4935. The relevant portions that I've highlighted, Judge, indicate that yes, the Department of Watershed Management did go out and do a meter inspection. 2 inspections were done. The first was conducted on February the 29th, and the second on June the 4th. It's the February 29th report where the completion note says that the meter is busted. Now, in the letter that the department sent to Mr. Smith denying his appeal, which I'll jump to shortly, they indicated to him that yes, even though it was noted that the meter was busted, the department was still able to get reliable meter readings remotely. And that is why I have Mr. Attorney Spencer Peck here today to discuss how that can be conducted. But the city was able to get readings, even though the on-site meter was listed, at least in February, as busted. And following February, they were still able to get reliable readings each reading period. Now, in June, the department went back out. And this time the note was no leaks coming from the couplings, leak detector is on. And what that means is that a leak was detected, but was not detected on the city side. I will again bring up the city's letter to Mr. Smith in a minute to go over what they indicated to him. And the board goes on to say this note indicates that there were no leaks on the city side of the meter, but indication of a property leak. The reason for the appeal is the customer is not satisfied with the dispute decision. There were no DWM repairs, and DWM has not received any invoices indicating repairs were made by the customer. Now, under the City of Atlanta Municipal Code, Judge, I'm going to switch over for a second.
Before you switch, or that's okay. You spent some time, you've now twice said that despite there being an entry from city employees that the meter is busted, that people could still take remote readings of the meter.
Yes.
That information was before the board, because that's not Mr. or Ms. Shell is given a little synopsis of Mr. Smith's case here. And she doesn't say in her synopsis to Mr. Ice or Ms. Maltese oh, even though a meter was busted, we could still take good readings remotely.
I believe, Judge, let's see. Let's see. Is this a synopsis you're referring to, Judge?
Well, no, I guess what was in the transcript, Michelle was reading a synopsis to other board members. Right, just what you've got highlighted there. She says that the completion note says meter is busted. And then it's what you just read. In June, it turns out looks like there was a leak, but it's on the customer side. You added, but it's not in there, that even though it says meter is busted, that doesn't mean that we couldn't get readings, because we could remotely. And I'm not doubting the accuracy of what you're saying. My question is, did the board have that information in front of them as well? Or that's just a Mr. Prothro, we learned a few weeks ago that you can still do meter readings remotely even though a meter is busted?
No, Your Honor, that information was in front of the board. So the packet that I was referring to earlier when I said that the board announced that meeting packets and evidence have been distributed to the board earlier, it included what we have presented to the court as the record. And
okay,
the court will allow me to go to, I'm pretty sure it's this page.
I'll allow you to go wherever you want to go.
Let's see. It's not that one. Hold on a second. It's this one. So this was the decision from the Water and Sewer Appeals Board. And in it, it says that the customer did not make any repairs on the plumbing to the property. And I'll get to the relevance of that in a minute.
Yep.
It says the Department of Watershed Management inspected the meter on February 29th, 2024, and reported a busted meter. However, the department received reliable remote and actual reads throughout the disputed billing periods, and a subsequent meter inspection on June the 4th revealed no malfunctions or leaks on the city side of the meter, and evidence of a property leak was identified.
Got it.
And then it goes on to show that the conclusions of law that they used to base their decision on was City of Atlanta Code 154.28 and 154.29. I was going to pull 154.29 up because it does require for the customer, while requesting an adjustment, to submit invoices along with proof of payment to show that repairs have been made. And so I think that Mr. Smith is number one. I think he admitted earlier that he may not have provided the invoices that he intended to provide, but I do know that he included invoices in his petition for review, which I would ask the court to strike, but I'll get to that as well later. But even in those invoices, there's no evidence that Mr. Smith has ever presented to the city receipts to establish that repairs were made on the property due to the leaks. And that's information that the board was missing. And that goes back to the board's, the discussions that I was reading in the transcript when they said they hadn't received evidence of any repairs.
Okay. I promise I'm gonna hear from you. You make notes, whatever you want to. When Mr. Prothro's done, it will be Mr. Smith rebuttal.
And so, Judge, one of the things that in order to get the adjustment, and if the court can take judicial notice of the City of Atlanta Code, or I can pull it up if the court is inclined to allow me to pull it up, but it is referenced in this letter, and that's why I would like for the court to review it. But the city made their decision based on Code Section 154-28 and 154-29. Is 154-29 that requires, when requesting the adjustment, that the customer provide proof of invoices and proof of payment. And I don't think that Mr. Smith has met that burden. And so that was part of the reason why the board made the decision that it did based on the limited information it had. Essentially, it had his appeal form, and then it had the information provided from the department, which would have included the notes on the inspections that were conducted, the readings, and that sort of thing. And so it's our position that that's why he did not satisfy his evidentiary burden at the administrative appeals hearing, and that is why the board ruled against him.
When you say invoices paid, you mean it would be, here's an invoice from my plumber, Mr. Smith's plumber, to fix X, and here's proof that I paid. And then I think that falls, I had a toilet leak once. And what I learned from the city is that if I send in proof that I hired a plumber to fix my toilet, then the city would adjust my bill for the month or months, some amount of time where my bill was higher because I found the problem on my side of the meter and I rectified it. Is that what you're referring, or what kind of invoices are you talking about that Mr. Smith did not submit showing that he had paid for something?
He did not submit invoices showing that a licensed plumber had come out, inspected the property, and made repairs toward the leaks.
Okay.
He did have invoices, but not payments or a receipt showing that he had paid to have that work done, that work completed. So essentially, in his petition, he submitted invoices, but those invoices were never submitted to the board. And I think he admitted that earlier that he may have made a mistake. He did not get those invoices to the board. They were submitted as part of his petition. Now,
Right.
Even if he had sent those invoices, they wouldn't have helped him very much because he requested a meter leak adjustment, and there's no evidence that the meter was ever leaking. As a matter of fact, I believe that the note, even though it said busted, it said that the leak was not on the city side. And then you see not even 4 months later, about 3.5 months later, they go back out and the meter seems to be working properly, and there's still no leaks on the city side.
Okay.
Right. Let's see. And would the court allow me to pull up the City of Atlanta Code?
Sure.
5429. Thank you, Judge. I'll share my screen once again. Here under 15429, which is referenced in his decision letter, it lays out the authority and the responsibilities that the commissioner have. But here in subsection C, most importantly, it says a satisfactory written proof must be provided to the commissioner by the customer that supports the basis of the adjustment request. This may include evidence that a leak existed and had been repaired. Then it goes on to say receipts for the payment of invoices, receipts for parts or equipment, reports or photographs, evidence of vandalism, such as a police report or photographs, or any other evidence that may support an adjustment request. The commissioner at his discretion may verify that repairs have been made. And then the last sentence, invoices without proof of payment will not be accepted. And so, number one, at the hearing itself, there was no evidence presented by the customer. And the customer, I think, has attempted to add that information in his petition. But even if he had presented it, there was no evidence presented that the city's meter was leaking. And his request was for a meter leak.
Okay.
I do believe, when we were speaking earlier, when he was testifying earlier, there was a point at which he said how much his bill had increased. Part of the record does include, Judge, the billing history for this property. And I do know that in December, let me find it. Yeah. All right. In December of 2024, Judge, I believe that Mr. Smith was able to pay his bill down to a zero balance. And the court should have these records. I can highlight them on my screen if you like.
December 2024.
No,
I'm sorry,
I don't.
2023. I apologize. December 31st, 2023.
But that's not inconsistent with the way I understood it, was that basically January of 24, which may reflect some service from December 23, is when the first big bill hit. And prior to that, it was around $66 a month. And it was a steady state. And then there was this whopper of a bill, and the bill stayed large for a few months in 2024, and then mysteriously went back down again. But that's sort of where we were for a few months.
That's correct, Judge. And I was just, I thought the statement that I heard was that the bill was for $3,800.
Oh, it was for whatever it was, and that'll be in the record if the bills were submitted.
That's fine. That's fine, Judge.
Okay.
But essentially, that's our argument, Judge, that no, the city's determination was based on the appeal form that was received. There was no evidence submitted by the customer The city did receive information that 2 inspections have been conducted, one in February, another in June. There were never any leaks determined to be on the city side. The information about a busted meter, I do believe, was contradicted by the fact that 4 months later, without any repairs being done, the meter appears to be working properly. And also there was evidence presented to the board prior to their deliberation that indicated that the city did receive reliable and consistent remote readings on the meter during that entire period. And so for those reasons, Judge, I would ask the court to dismiss or to affirm the Water and Sewer Appeal Board's decision.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith, you raised your hands a couple times. It's your turn now. Tell me what you want to add. You don't need to repeat stuff you said before, but if there are things you want to say in response to what Mr. Procro said or other things have come to mind, I am here to listen.
If he's saying that the meter was busted and that they were getting reliable readings, they could probably get the readings, but there's obviously a correlation between the meter being busted and the consumption going up. And then he says that in June they went back out and repaired the meter and everything was back to normal, but according to the consumption records, it was still high. And the billing is not showing an amount paid to the plumber because the plumber said, I'm not going to charge you. There's no leaks on this side. I'm not seeing anything. So if he's not seeing any leaks on my side, but the numbers are still going up, I can't see how you've already admitted that the meter was busted, that it was malfunctioning. How can you tell from a malfunctioning meter whether it's giving you accurate readings or not, if you just admitted that it was busted? And then in addition to that, if it was busted and you're saying, okay, we repaired it, at least allow me to resubmit, because now you fix the problem on your end and saying that it's a problem on my end. So at least give me an opportunity to resubmit my findings and get because as of right now, I haven't done anything on my side of the property and the numbers are regular, they're normal. So
So they went from regular to abnormal to regular, all without you doing any work on your side?
I have 2 plumbers that say that there were no leaks on my side of the property. 2 plumbers from 2 different companies.
The cold snap where you said there was a break in a pipe, but it turned out to be on the city's side of the meter. That was when?
That was
just ballpark. Was that this winter?
That was this winter, 2/5/2025, February 5th, 2025.
Okay. And some crew came out and fixed the pipe in the street?
I just know it was repaired. I wasn't there when they came out and did it. I just know it was repaired. The tenant told me, they're like, hey, there's a lot of water out here. So I called them and I'm sure the customer service rep has a record. And they said that yeah, the water was leaking and they will go back out and fix it. Now, mind you, this is the meter that they were supposed to have repaired the first time, and all of a sudden it started leaking again once we had a cold snap. And these numbers going up did start in January when there was a cold snap. So if you're saying that the meter's busted, how can we affirm that? I'm in IT. If there's one problem with a computer, you fix the problem first, and then you can determine whether there's other problems. I don't know how you can say the meter's busted, but we were getting accurate readings. That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. Got it.
Judge, if I might interject.
Well, you were going to get called upon, so maybe it's the same thing. I'm following both sides, but I have written down here, this seems sort of like I don't know if I'm using the right logic terms, but like a circular argument. We know the meter's working because it gave us reliable readings, but what Mr. Smith is challenging is the reliability of those readings, because he is saying there wasn't that level of usage. There couldn't be that level of usage with a single occupant of a household, et cetera. I appreciate leaks could explain it all, but how do we reconcile meter is busted and we got reliable readings if the numbers are very, very different from what they have been for months and months and months?
Judge, give a brief summary, and then if you'll allow me to call Spencer Peck to testify as to the technicalities of the meter itself. But to answer your question, Judge, I want to go back and contest something that Mr. Smith said, that we came out, that we said the meter was busted and we repaired the meter. I don't think that was ever entered into the record at the Water Sewer Appeal Board, that there were repairs made. It was reported that 2 inspections were conducted. The initial inspection indicated that it had a notation, meter busted. The second inspection said the meter there was no leaks detected. It didn't speak to repairs required on the water meter, or that repairs were made. It appeared that the water meter was working properly at that time. I would posit that it's very possible that the initial report was mistaken, but there's nothing in the record that indicates that the city went out and repaired that meter due to the meter being broken, not only on February 2024, but also in June of 2024. The second in time, the June 2024 notation indicates that everything like it was working fine, but there was a leak detected. Now, Mr. Peck can go into more detail about how the meter takes its recordings and what a busted meter may or may not mean. And I'd ask him to speak to the court now, if the court would be inclined to hear that.
Well, yes and no. I'm very curious because these cases crop up from time to time, but I want to have everyone follow the same set of rules. And like I told Mr. Smith, I'm not able at this juncture to make decisions based on new evidence unless Mr. Peck is going to read aloud to me a statement he gave to the board. Then the board didn't have the benefit of his expertise and ability to reconcile meter is busted with, but it can't be busted because we're getting reliable readings, when of course the whole dispute is how reliable are the readings.
Well, one thing I would point out, Judge, and just so that this doesn't become a semantic issue, when in the letter for the Water Sewer Board's findings, they said that they were getting reliable remote readings. So it's still possible for the city to get a reading, even if a employee of Department of Watershed Management is not going to the location and looking at the physical meter on the spot. And so in that letter to Mr. Smith, they were saying, yeah, there was a report that it was busted in February, but we were still able to get remote readings, reliable remote readings during that time. And that was part of also of what the Water Sewer Board based their decision on.
Right. No, I follow you. And I appreciate remote reading is different from looking at the meter and saying, I can tell visually what's going on. I guess where we are all stuck, because there's nothing more in the record, is what did meter busted mean? Did meter busted mean you can't tell consumption by visibly looking at it? You got to rely on remote. That means it's broken in that respect, but otherwise it's working fine and the remote readings are A-okay. Or did the person who decided it was busted encounter, gosh, I'm doing the bucket test where the water that's coming out is coming out real slowly. I just basically use 5 gallons worth of water in this house, and the meter showed that I use 50 gallons. Well, that meter is busted. And the way it's busted is that his readings aren't reliable. And we don't know what was busted about it. I know Mr. Peck shaking his head, but we can't supplement the record now to say, oh, don't worry, there's no way a meter could be busted in that way. The board had what the board had, which was an annotation that a meter was busted, and then some subsequent language but they could still get reliable readings. And I guess we're stuck wondering, but what's the busted part? Was the busted part that the readings weren't reliable, or that there was a crack in it, or that there's supposed to be a light that goes on and it didn't go on, but that doesn't affect performance? We'll really never know, because all it said was meter was busted, and neither side needed to amplify it because the record that Mr. Smith submitted really didn't attack that part head on.
Agreed, Judge. The record is silent on that. We did not get a definition. No evidence was presented by either side. And so to the court's point about Mr. Peck testifying, that would potentially be new evidence, or at least it was not presented to the board at that time. But I would remind the court that neither did the customer provide information at that time. The video that he referenced earlier was not provided at that time.
Right.
Invoices were not provided at that time. So
Right.
we don't know we don't know how the board interpreted or defined that term, but
Yep.
we do know that they did not allow that term to stop them from coming to a ruling, and that their ruling ultimately was that they sided with the city.
Yep. I know. I follow all that.
Thank you, Judge.
Hold on one second. So Mr. Peck, if you had 30 seconds, not on the record, to explain this conundrum, how would you do that?
30 seconds to speak outside of what's provided in the record?
Yeah. How do we reconcile meter busted, but we got reliable readings when what's being challenged here is the readings?
So there's several different parts of a meter. There's the part of the meter where the water flows through and it spins a disc inside that meter. And then that disc speaks to a register which sits on top of the meter that reads how many times it spins, calculates that as a number, and then sends it through an antenna to the watershed's billing system. There are several parts of that that can be broken and not affect how much water goes through the meter, or how many times the disc spins, or what signal gets sent. For instance, there's a LCD screen on the top of the register that has the numbers that tick and the meter number. And if you don't shine a light on that to wake it up because it's solar powered, you won't see anything. And so the meter will still be running and calculating and spinning, right, and sending the signal, but you'll look at it and you'll think that it's dead. That can also be like chipped and broken with a glass. They want to replace it so that can work. The antenna itself could be broken. There's an internal antenna in the register, and there's an antenna that it's connected to by a wire that sits on the lid of the meter box. Even if that's disconnected, the register still sends signals independently of the antenna. So there's many things that could be broken, and it would still give an accurate read. And the record has on page 22 of the record, it shows the usage detail, and it shows that there's been remote reads throughout that entire period. It shows that even in February of 24, when the first inspection happened, the meter is busted inspection, they received a remote read. That continued, those high reads and the remote reads continued through September when the record ends, showing high usage.
So I guess an answer to what would be to me the next question of what you've described all sorts of things that could be broken that would cause someone to say meter busted. Another thing that could be broken is that spinner thing, so that it's not spinning at the right speed because it's broken somehow. That could be how it's busted, in which case you'll still get the signal, you'll still get the reads, but the reads won't be reliable. But that wouldn't explain how 6 months later you suddenly have the low reads again. It's as if it's a self-healing mechanism. And I know Atlanta's good, but I bet they don't have self-healing meters.
Well, on that point, Your Honor, if a meter breaks in that way, if either the nutating disc that spins inside the meter breaks, or the register, the device that calculates how much usage breaks, it will return what's called an estimate read, and that will show up in the usage record as estimate. And basically that's the billing system takes that read and it looks back into the history of the usage, prior usage of that customer's history, and extrapolates a number based on that that's usually in line with what they used. Here, there's no evidence of an estimate read. It says remote, so we can rely on that. And you're right, if a meter breaks, it wouldn't fix itself. And so it would continue to be high usage.
We'd be in the stratosphere still. Okay.
Right.
Got it. All right. That's all unofficial, but it's helpful. Thank you. Mr. Smith.
So something that he said in reference to being able to shine a light on the meter. My plumber did open the thing, and the sunlight was hitting the meter and it was not responding. And I guess my whole argument is, how can it be reliable if anything's wrong with it? Even if there's water going through, yes, it's going to report something, but what is it reporting? I mean, it could, if it says it's going to go back and look at the previous months of usage, well, it obviously didn't do that, because before the consumption hit 41, it was 9, 5, 5, and 4. So I just think that it's unreliable. How can you give credibility to something that's all over the place? And you're admitting that there was a problem. Whatever busted means, it means that there was a problem.
Got it. Well, that's what I need to work through. To Mr. Prothro's point, the board was aware of that. It's not that they didn't know that someone had said the meter's busted, and they reconciled it the way they did. I need to look at it to see if they made any decisions that were clearly erroneous or something like that. But you've helped me understand what your concerns are. And now I need to do my part in this. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Prothro, anything else?
No, Your Honor, not for the city.
Appreciate you assembling the team you did. Tell me, Mr. Smith, you mentioned you're in IT. What do you do?
IT security
Okay.
for Norfolk Southern Railroad.
At Norfolk Southern?
Yes.
Soon to be Union Pacific?
Soon to be probably displaced.
I was going to say,
That's
right.
a whole nother question.
I'm sorry to hear that, but it's been good for a while. How long have you been at Norfolk Southern?
I'm right at the cusp, 20 years.
Yeah, you're one who will save them a lot of money if they can do that. How quickly does something like that go through, though? That seems like it would be slow.
What I'm doing, Judge, is not focusing on it. Just
Yeah. Doing what you do.
Next opportunity and trying to make the best of a not very good situation. There are people out there in much worse situations than me.
Sure. Are they forecasting that the consolidation leads to lots of right sizing?
We've already I lost my whole team about
Okay.
3 weeks ago. So just
Because of the merger, or that was happening anyway?
Well, mergers don't happen overnight.
Right.
They generally, something was probably said last year, and let's right size the
Got it.
company and do
Yep.
that. So it's just a matter of if I make it to retirement, I'll consider myself fortunate. I
Okay.
doubt if I'll make it to retirement though.
And then do you have multiple parcels in Atlanta, or you just have, this is the one?
I have my father's house,
Yeah.
which is around the corner. That house was actually my best friend's house. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I have another property in Riverdale and one in Jonesboro. My original house was in Riverdale, and I have a smaller house in Jonesboro.
So you can go into real estate if IT security doesn't work?
No, I don't think, despite what a lot of people say, being a landlord, you spend more time fixing stuff than you do actually making money, unless you're, big time.
Right. If you own 1,000 properties, you have scale.
Yeah, you probably make something. Most of the money that most of my tenants have been with me for a multitude of years, and they appreciate the fact that I try to keep the rent low.
Sure.
So they don't go anywhere, and they're older, single
Right.
women.
And reliable, and you don't have to worry about them tearing the place up.
Normal wear and tear.
Yeah.
And I give them the benefit of the doubt that, if you were in a better situation, you probably wouldn't need me. So
Yeah.
they take care of the place within reason.
Sure. Well, thank you for being there for them. Well, if you don't have anything else, I will take all this under advisement and get an order out, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
All right? Appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Prothro.
Thank you, Judge. Are we excused?
You are excused. I'll